The unlikely alliance. In the vast expanse of the galaxy, where stars twinkled like scattered diamonds, a lone ship navigated the void. The Starfall, a sleek vessel designed for speed and stealth, was on a crucial mission. Its pilot, Captain Aiden Cross, was a seasoned spacefarer known for his quick thinking and unyielding resolve. Today, however, he faced an assignment unlike any he had encountered before. He was hired to protect an alien princess, Princess Lyra of the Zithari, a species known for their advanced technology and complex political dynamics. As Aiden prepared for departure from the bustling spaceport of New Orion, he glanced at the dossier on Lyra. The Zithari were not just any alien race. They were rumored to possess the ability to manipulate energy fields around them. Their vibrant blue skin and iridescent hair made them stand out, but it was their intelligence and resourcefulness that truly set them apart. Aiden had read stories of Zithari's capabilities in combat and negotiation, making him both excited and apprehensive about his new charge. The briefing had been straightforward. Lyra was on the run from a faction within her own empire that sought to use her powers for war. They believed that by capturing her, they could harness her abilities to amplify their technology, leading to an inevitable conflict with the neighboring human colonies. Aiden's job was to escort her to a safe location on the Outer Rim, where she could regroup and form a plan to reclaim her throne. Little did he know that their journey would test their limits and change their perspectives on what it meant to the Allies. As he initiated the pre-flight checks, Aiden couldn't shake the feeling that this mission was fraught with danger. He had heard whispers of the Zithari's internal strife, but the details were shrouded in mystery. With a deep breath, he steeled himself for the task ahead. After ensuring everything was in order, he activated the ship's engines, and the hum of the thrusters filled the cockpit. The Starfall lifted off, breaking free from the gravitational pull of New Orion, and Aiden charted a course toward the Zithari homeworld. The journey began smoothly. Aiden's mind raced with thoughts of the encounters he might have with Lyra. Would she be grateful for his assistance, or would she resent him for being a human in her world of advanced alien politics? He hoped that they could find common ground, but as he crossed the void, he understood that trust would take time, if it could be established at all. After a few hours, Aiden finally approached the coordinates where Lyra was to be waiting. The ship's sensors pinged as he spotted her small craft, the celestial wraith, nestled among the asteroids. As he maneuvered to dock, his heart raced with anticipation. This was the moment he would meet the princess and discover what made her so vital to the future of both their races. Upon docking, Aiden stepped into the airlock, adjusting the collar of his flight suit. The door hissed open, and he entered the dimly lit interior of the celestial wraith. The air was cool, and a faint hum of machinery echoed through the chamber. Before he could take a step further, a figure emerged from the shadows, Princess Lyra herself. She was stunning, her blue skin glowing softly under the ship's lights. Her hair shimmered like liquid silver, cascading down her back in waves. Her bright eyes, a mix of green and gold, surveyed Aiden with a mix of curiosity and caution. He extended his hand in greeting, but she merely raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "Captain Cross, I presume." Her voice was melodic, yet there was a firmness in her tone. "I hope you understand the gravity of the situation." Aiden nodded, feeling the weight of her gaze. "I do. I'm here to ensure your safe passage. We need to get you to the Outer Rim before they catch up to you." Lyra crossed her arms, a gesture that radiated confidence. "And how do I know I can trust you? You are a human after all. Your kind has been known to betray their allies for personal gain." Aiden felt a flash of indignation. "I'm not here to betray anyone. I'm doing my job, and I intend to see it through." He took a step closer, maintaining eye contact. "Your safety is my priority." She studied him for a moment, then uncrossed her arms. "Very well, but I will not be an easy passenger. My people have a history of using humans as pawns. If you wish for my cooperation, you must prove yourself." Aiden was taken aback by her forthrightness, but he admired her strength. I'll do my best to earn your trust, Princess. Let's get moving before our enemies find us." With that, they quickly set to work. Aiden familiarized himself with the systems of the celestial wraith, while Lyra shared information about the factions pursuing her. As she spoke, Aiden realized how strategic and intelligent she truly was. The Zithari had not only advanced technology, but also a deep understanding of tactics and negotiation. He began to see her not just as a princess, but as a formidable ally. As they plotted their escape route, the alarms suddenly blared, slicing through their focused conversation. Aiden's heart raced. "What now?" he asked, moving to the control panel to assess the situation. "Enemy ships have detected us," Lyra replied, her voice steady despite the urgency. "We need to move now." Aiden's fingers danced over the controls, trying to analyze the radar readings. "They're closing in fast. I can make a jump to hyperspace, but we'll need to plot a new course." "Do it," Lyra urged, her eyes bright with determination. "I'll work on masking our energy signature." They sprang into action, working in tandem as they prepped the ship for their escape. Aiden plotted a course through the asteroid field while Lyra activated the cloaking device. The tension in the air was palpable. They were relying on each other to survive. Just as they prepared to make the jump, Aiden spotted the enemy ships on the radar, two sleek, menacing vessels that were known for their aggressive tactics. "We won't be able to make the jump if they see us." Lyra's face tightened with focus. "We can't outrun them, we'll have to outsmart them. Prepare for evasive maneuvers, and I'll see if I can disrupt their targeting systems." With adrenaline pumping through his veins, Aiden executed a series of sharp turns, weaving through the asteroids. The enemy ships followed closely, their weapons charging, but Lyra was already at work. The lights flickered as she manipulated the ship's systems, sending out pulses of interference that scrambled the enemy's targeting. "Now," she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Aiden punched the throttle, and the celestial wraith surged forward, diving into the safety of the asteroid field. He could feel the tension mounting, but Lyra's calm presence gave him strength. As they navigated the treacherous terrain, Aiden marveled at how well they worked together. He had expected to be the one in control, but with every passing moment, he found himself relying on Lyra's insights and instincts. Their bond was strengthening, forged in the fires of danger. Suddenly, a burst of energy lit up the cockpit as an enemy ship fired on them, narrowly missing their hull. "They're gaining on us," Aiden shouted, his hands gripping the controls tightly. "Hold steady," Lyra called, her eyes fixed on the sensors. "If we can get behind that asteroid cluster, we might be able to use the debris as cover." "Got it." Aiden veered sharply, threading the needle between the rocky formations. He could feel the ship shudder as they barely avoided collision, but he pressed on, fueled by determination. As they reached the cluster, Aiden glanced at Lyra, who was already strategizing their next move. "Can you disable their weapons?" he asked, his breath coming in quick bursts. "I'll try," she replied, fingers flying over the console. "Just keep us hidden." As they hid among the asteroids, Aiden's heart raced. He could hear the enemy ships outside, scanning for them. The seconds felt like hours as they waited, holding their breath. Then, a triumphant smile broke across Lyra's face. "I've got their systems in a loop. They'll be unable to fire for the next few moments." "Let's make it count," Aiden replied, excitement surging through him. He punched the throttle again, and they surged from their hiding spot, speeding toward the nearest jump point. "Jumping in 3, 2, 1, now." With a surge of energy, they activated the hyperspace drive, and the stars stretched into streaks of light as they escaped into the vastness of space. Once the danger had passed, Aiden allowed himself a moment to breathe. The adrenaline slowly subsided, leaving him exhilarated yet exhausted. He glanced at Lyra, who was staring out into the expanse of stars, a look of relief washing over her face. "You did well, Captain," she said softly, turning to him. "I'm grateful for your quick thinking." Aiden shrugged, trying to play it cool. I couldn't have done it without you. We make a good team. Laura smiled, and for the first time, Aiden felt a warmth between them, a budding alliance built on mutual respect and shared danger. As they plotted their next course, he realized that this journey was just beginning, and the challenges ahead would test not only their skills, but the very fabric of their relationship. With the galaxy as their backdrop, Aiden and Lyra were no longer just human and alien. They were partners, navigating a treacherous world together. They had crossed the threshold of trust, and whatever awaited them next would require every ounce of ingenuity and resilience they could muster. The stars beckoned with promises of adventure, and Aiden was ready to face it all with Lyra by his side. Shadows of deceit. The celestial wraith surged through the void, streaking past constellations and the remnants of ancient star systems. Inside, the atmosphere buzzed with a mix of relief and lingering tension. Aiden Cross sat at the helm, eyes fixed on the display, plotting their next course while occasionally glancing at Princess Lyra, who was reviewing the ship's systems with a keen eye. Impressive, she remarked, her voice carrying a hint of admiration. Your piloting skills are commendable. Not many would have navigated that asteroid field under fire. Aiden offered a half smile, still feeling the adrenaline of their escape. Thanks, but it was a team effort. You played a big part in getting us out of there. Laura turned her attention back to the control panel, fingers dancing over the holographic interface. Let's not underestimate the threat we're facing. The faction pursuing me will not relent easily. They have resources and connections throughout the galaxy. What can you tell me about them? Aiden asked, curious to understand the depth of the danger that lay ahead. Why are they after you? Laura hesitated for a moment, the flicker of worry crossing her features. My family is embroiled in a power struggle. My father, King Zareth, is viewed as weak by a group of traditionalists who believe the Zithari should assert dominance over our neighboring systems. They see me as a key to that dominance, a tool to amplify their ambitions through my abilities. Abilities? Aiden asked, intrigued. He had heard whispers of the Zithari's capabilities, but wanted to know more. What exactly can you do? Laura's eyes narrowed slightly, her expression shifting to one of caution. I can manipulate energy fields. It allows me to create shields, enhance technology, and in some cases, influence emotions. However, it's not something I take lightly. Using my abilities can have unforeseen consequences. Aiden nodded, absorbing the weight of her words. And they want to use that power for their own ends. Exactly, she replied. The faction pursuing me believes that if they capture me, they can force me to bend to their will. They underestimate me, but they are dangerous. I won't let them take control of my life or my abilities. Aiden sensed a deep resolve within her, a determination that mirrored his own. Then we need to ensure you get to safety. Where do you plan to go? First, we must reach the nebula station on the outskirts of the galactic fringe, she said, pulling up a star map on the console. It's a hub for traders and mercenaries. We can lay low there and find allies. Sounds good, Aiden replied. Let's plot a course and get moving. He initiated the calculations, and the ship hummed with energy as they entered hyperspace. The familiar rush of stars turned into streaks of light, and for a moment, they both breathed easier, knowing they had gained some distance from their pursuers. But Aiden couldn't shake the feeling that the danger was far from over. The vastness of space was filled with unknowns, and Lyra's presence only amplified the stakes. He looked at her, noticing the way she focused intently on the screen, her expression revealing a mix of confidence and anxiety. As they traveled through hyperspace, Laura opened up more about her people. The Zithari have a rich history, but our society is divided. My father tries to maintain peace, but many see that as a sign of weakness. They want a ruler who will lead with an iron fist. Sounds like you're caught in the middle, Aiden said, empathy creeping into his voice. Indeed, the irony is that I could be a strong leader if given the chance, but I am not ready for that responsibility. I'm still learning about my abilities and the expectations of my people, she confessed, her gaze turning distant. We all have to start somewhere, Aiden replied, wanting to offer encouragement. It's not easy being thrust into a position of power, especially with so many people relying on you. Lyra met his gaze, and for a moment, a connection sparked between them, a shared understanding of their burdens. I appreciate your support, Aiden. It's rare to find someone willing to stand by me without seeking personal gain. Their conversation was interrupted as the ship jolted, alarms blaring through the cabin. What now? Aiden shouted, his heart racing as he scrambled to regain control. Detecting a ship on an intercept course, Lyra's voice was steady despite the chaos. It's likely one of the enemy factions. Can you scramble their targeting systems again? Aiden asked, fingers flying over the controls as he adjusted their course to evade. I'll try, she said, focusing intently on the ship's systems. The display showed a menacing vessel closing in, its dark hull designed for intimidation. Aiden could see the enemy ship's weapons powering up, preparing to fire. We don't have much time, Aiden warned, adrenaline coursing through him. We need to make a break for it. Hold on, Lyra shouted as she manipulated the ship's energy fields, sending out pulses of interference. The enemy's targeting systems began to flicker, but it wasn't enough to completely disable them. Prepare for evasive maneuvers, Aiden called out, adjusting their trajectory as the enemy ship fired, beams of energy lancing through space toward them. He veered hard to the left, narrowly dodging the blasts. The celestial wraith rocked under the strain, but Aiden kept a steady hand on the controls. Make a jump. We can't stay here, Lyra urged, her voice sharp with urgency. Need a few more seconds to get the coordinates locked, he replied, sweat forming on his brow as he concentrated. Just do it, she shouted, her intensity igniting a fire within him. With one final adjustment, Aiden locked in the coordinates for the nebula station and activated the hyperspace drive. The ship lurched forward, and they were propelled into the vastness of hyperspace just as another energy beam grazed the hull, causing the ship to shudder violently. Aiden's heart raced as the stars blurred around them. Once they were safely in hyperspace, Aiden let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. That was too close, he said, shaking slightly as the adrenaline began to fade. Lyra turned to him, her expression fierce. We can't let our guard down. They'll be hunting for us, and we need to prepare for whatever comes next. Aiden nodded, knowing she was right. We need a plan. Once we reach Nebula Station, we should gather intel and find allies. If they have ships on our tail, we'll need a solid strategy to counter them. Lyra's eyes glinted with determination. Agreed, but we must be careful. Trust is a luxury we can't afford right now. As the ship sailed through hyperspace, they began to brainstorm. Aiden utilized his knowledge of the station's layout and contacts, while Lyra shared insights about potential allies among the Zithari traders. It was a delicate balance of trust and caution, both of them fully aware that their lives depended on their ability to navigate this treacherous landscape. Hours later, they emerged from hyperspace, the nebula station looming before them, a massive structure shimmering with the colors of a nearby nebula. It was a bustling hub, filled with ships of all shapes and sizes, a melting pot of species and cultures. Welcome to Nebula Station, Aiden said, his heart racing at the sight. Let's hope we can find some reliable allies here. As they docked, the two exchanged a look of determination. Remember, we're in unfamiliar territory, Lyra warned. Stay alert, and don't let your guard down. I've got your back, Aiden replied, his resolve strengthening. They exited the ship and stepped onto the station's bustling promenade, the vibrant atmosphere overwhelming their senses. Creatures of all kinds moved past them, some glancing curiously at the unusual pair of human and Zithari. Aiden took a moment to absorb the scene, noting the various vendors peddling wares and the mercenaries exchanging stories over drinks. It was a hive of activity, but danger lurked in every corner. Where do we start? Aiden asked, looking to Lyra for direction. There's a contact I trust, a trader named Rylos. He knows the undercurrents of the station and can help us find allies, she replied, scanning the crowd for familiar faces. As they made their way through the throng, Aiden couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The tension in the air was palpable, and he remained vigilant, his senses heightened. Lyra's presence at his side was reassuring, but he knew they were in a precarious situation. They finally reached Rylos' shop, a small establishment adorned with exotic items and flickering holograms. The trader was a grizzled figure with a patchy beard and piercing eyes that seemed to assess them both in an instant. "Lyra, I thought you were dead," Rylos exclaimed, surprise mingling with relief. "You've brought trouble with you, I see." "Not just trouble," Lyra replied, her tone serious. "We need your help, Rylos. There are factions after me, and we can't stay here for long." Rylos' expression darkened. "I've heard whispers. You're a target now, and you can't trust anyone, but I might have a few contacts who can assist you." "Good. We need information and resources," Aiden interjected, sensing the urgency of the situation. "We can't allow them to catch up to us." Rylos nodded, his demeanor shifting from surprise to business-like focus. "There are rumors of a bounty on your head, Lyra. If we're going to survive, we need to move quickly and stay off the radar." Aiden felt the weight of their predicament pressing down on him. "What's our next step?" "First, I'll connect you with some reliable mercenaries. They can help provide protection and get you to a safer location," Rylos replied, moving to a console to send out discreet messages. As he worked, Aiden exchanged glances with Lyra, both of them aware of the dangers surrounding them. Every passing moment felt like a countdown, the tension hanging thick in the air. But they were in this together, and Aiden felt a sense of purpose swell within him. "Thank you, Rylos," Lyra said, her voice steady. "We appreciate your assistance. We'll do whatever it takes to stay one step ahead." Rylos looked up, concern etched on his features. "Just be careful, both of you. This station has eyes everywhere, and trust me, not everyone is on your side." With those words echoing in their minds, Aiden and Lyra prepared for the next phase of their journey. As they stood in the midst of uncertainty, they knew that their alliance would be tested time and again. But together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by a shared purpose and an unbreakable bond forged in the fires of conflict. The celestial wraith had become more than just a ship. It was a symbol of their defiance against the darkness pursuing them. They were not merely running from danger. They were on a quest to reclaim Lyra's destiny, and in doing so, redefine their own. The stars awaited, and with them, the promise of new adventures and uncharted territory. Into the fray, the nebula station buzzed with energy, a kaleidoscope of colors and cultures that represented the vast tapestry of the galaxy. As Aiden Cross and Princess Lyra navigated the thrumming marketplace, they felt the weight of their situation pressing down on them. Allies could be found here, but so could enemies lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "Stay close," Aiden urged, scanning the crowd. "We can't afford to lose sight of each other in this chaos." Lyra nodded, her expression serious as she adjusted the hood of her cloak to obscure her features. "I'll follow your lead, Captain. We need to find our contacts quickly and plan our next move." Rylos had sent a message to a group of mercenaries he trusted, but the time frame was uncertain. They could arrive at any moment, or not at all. Anxiety coiled in Aiden's stomach as they made their way deeper into the station, passing stalls filled with exotic goods, traders haggling in various languages, and individuals whose intentions were as murky as the nebula outside. "What's the plan once we find these mercenaries?" Aiden asked, keeping his voice low. "We need to gather as much information as possible," Lyra replied. "I want to know the extent of the threat we're facing. If they put a bounty on my head, I need to understand who is hunting me and why. We'll need a safe route back to my homeworld." Aiden couldn't help but admire her determination. And if they're unwilling to help, then we find another way, she said resolutely. I won't let fear dictate my choices. They approached a small tavern, the Sundown Lounge, where Rylos had suggested they meet the mercenaries. The establishment was dimly lit, filled with the sounds of laughter and clinking glasses. Aiden felt a familiar sense of tension as he stepped inside, knowing that this could either be a haven or a trap. Let's find a table in the corner, he suggested, leading Lyra through the throng of patrons. They settled at a table, the atmosphere heavy with anticipation. Aiden scanned the room, noting the various patrons. Some appeared to be regulars, while others exuded an air of danger. Do you see anyone that looks like a mercenary? Lyra asked, her gaze darting around the room. Not yet, Aiden replied, trying to suppress his unease. But we should keep our voices down. I'd rather not draw attention. Moments later, a figure approached their table. He was tall, with a rugged appearance and a cybernetic arm that glinted in the low light. You two must be the ones Rylos mentioned, he said, his voice gravelly. I'm Karavos, leader of the Silver Blades. Thanks for meeting us, Aiden said, eyeing the newcomer warily. We could use your help. Kara glanced at Lyra, and Aiden noticed a flicker of surprise in his expression. You're the Zithari princess. Didn't expect to see you in a place like this. Lyra held his gaze steady. I'm not here by choice, but I need your assistance. There are factions hunting me, and I can't afford to be captured. Kara leaned back, crossing his arms. You're in deep waters, princess. The Zithari have enemies, and you're not the only one they want. Rylos said something about a bounty on your head. It's a risky job. Aiden interjected, sensing the tension. We understand the risks, but we need protection to get to a safe location. If you help us, I promise we'll compensate you fairly. Kara studied them both for a moment, weighing their request. All right, but I want full transparency. If we're going to work together, I need to know everything about your situation, who's after you and why. Lyra exchanged glances with Aiden before nodding. There's a faction within my homeworld that believes they can exploit my abilities to gain power. They're ruthless, and they won't stop until they have me. Kara's brow furrowed as he listened. I've heard rumors about a civil war brewing among the Zithari. You're caught in the middle of it. Yes, Lyra replied, her voice steady. But we can't allow them to manipulate my powers. We need to stop this before it escalates. Kara leaned forward, intrigued. You say you can manipulate energy fields. How exactly does that work? It's complicated, she said, her tone growing serious. My abilities allow me to create shields, disrupt technology, and even influence emotions. But using my powers requires concentration and control. I can't let anyone else dictate how I use them. Aiden felt a flicker of admiration for her resolve. That's why we need your help, Kara. If we're going to navigate this situation, we need to work together. Agreed, Kara replied, his demeanor shifting to a more serious tone. But know this, my team is loyal, but they won't risk their lives without a plan. We need to formulate a strategy. Aiden nodded, feeling a sense of relief that they were on the same page. What do you propose? Kara leaned back, considering their options. First, we'll need to gather intelligence on your pursuers. We can't engage without knowing what we're up against. I have contacts who can provide intel. And how long will that take? Lyra asked, her urgency palpable. Not long, Kara assured her. We can start right away. But you need to stay low and avoid attracting attention. If they catch wind of your presence, they'll come for you. Understood, Aiden replied, glancing around the tavern. We'll do whatever it takes to ensure your safety, Lyra. As they discussed their plans, a shadow loomed over their table, and Aiden felt a chill run down his spine. He turned to see a group of rough-looking individuals eyeing them from across the room, whispering amongst themselves. Their presence radiated danger, and Aiden instinctively reached for the concealed weapon at his side. Kara noticed too. Stay calm, he said quietly. We may have company. Lyra's expression hardened. We can't let them intimidate us. Agreed, Aiden said, straightening in his chair. If they're here for you, they won't back down without a fight. The tension in the air thickened as the group began to approach their table, their intentions clear. Aiden's instincts kicked in. He was prepared for whatever might come next. Princess Lyra, one of the men said, his voice dripping with disdain. You're a long way from home. We're here to take you back. Lyra's expression was unwavering. I'm not going anywhere with you. The man laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the tavern. You think you can defy us? You're a traitor to your people, and they'll pay handsomely for your return. Aiden stood, positioning himself protectively in front of Lyra. You'll have to get through me first. The man sneered, glancing at Aiden's weapon. You think that's going to stop us? You're outnumbered, human. Just walk away while you still can. I don't think so, Aiden replied, his voice low and steady. We're not backing down. With a flick of his wrist, he activated his weapon, the familiar hum of energy filling the air. The tension escalated, and the tavern's patrons turned their attention to the unfolding confrontation. Lyra's eyes flashed with determination, and Aiden could sense her resolve to protect her own destiny. Stand down, the man barked, his tone shifting to one of authority. This is not your fight. Wrong, Aiden shot back. This is very much my fight. If you want her, you'll have to go through me. The group exchanged glances, a flicker of uncertainty breaking through their bravado. Aiden knew they were at a stalemate, but he had to act quickly. Kara, do you have a way to get us out of here? Follow my lead, Kara said, his demeanor shifting to that of a seasoned leader. We're not here to start a war, but we won't back down either. Just then, a loud crash echoed through the tavern as a fight broke out between another group of patrons. The distraction provided Aiden and Lyra with a moment of clarity amidst the chaos. Now, Kara shouted, gesturing for them to move. Aiden grabbed Lyra's arm, and they bolted toward the back exit. The thugs, momentarily distracted, shouted in frustration but quickly recovered. After them, one of them yelled, and Aiden felt a rush of adrenaline surge through him. They burst through the back door into an alley, the cold air hitting their faces as they sprinted down the narrow corridor. Aiden could hear footsteps behind them, the sounds of pursuit echoing off the metal walls. They had to find a way to lose their attackers before it was too late. Over here, Kara shouted, leading them into a side passage. They ducked into a hidden alcove, catching their breath for a moment. Do you think they saw us? Lyra asked, her eyes wide with urgency. I don't know, Aiden replied, scanning the area for any sign of danger. But we can't stay here for long. Kara pulled out a small device and began tapping on it. I'll contact my team and let them know what's happening. We need to regroup. Let's hope they can get here before the thugs catch up to us, Aiden said, feeling the tension building again. Just as Kara finished his message, footsteps echoed in the alleyway outside. Aiden's heart raced as he pressed himself against the wall, every instinct screaming for them to remain silent. Where did they go? One of the pursuers asked, frustration lacing his voice. They couldn't have vanished. They have to be nearby. Split up and search the area. Another commanded, and Aiden felt a surge of panic. Lyra's hand gripped his arm tightly. We have to move, she whispered. Before Aiden could respond, the sound of a door creaking open nearby caught their attention. They watched as one of the thugs stepped into the alley, scanning the area. Aiden's breath caught in his throat. They were dangerously close to being discovered. We need to create a diversion, Kara said, his voice barely above a whisper. If we can draw them away, we might escape. Aiden nodded, adrenaline coursing through him. What do you have in mind? Kara reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device that resembled a grenade. This will create a loud explosion and light show. It should buy us enough time to slip away. Do it, Aiden urged, glancing at Lyra. We need to act fast. Kara primed a device and tossed it down the alley just as the thugs stepped closer. The explosion rocked the alley, filling the air with blinding light and deafening noise. Aiden shielded Lyra as they dashed down a different path, escaping the chaos behind them. As they sprinted through the dimly lit corridors of Nebula Station, Aiden felt a surge of hope. They had evaded capture, but they knew this was only the beginning. The stakes were higher than ever, and they needed to stay one step ahead. After what felt like an eternity, they finally emerged into a bustling market area where patrons were oblivious to the chaos that had just unfolded. Aiden took a deep breath, trying to steady his racing heart. "Keep moving," Kara said, leading the way. "We'll find a safe spot to regroup and plan our next steps." Aiden glanced at Lyra, her expression a mixture of determination and anxiety. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine," she replied, though her voice trembled slightly. "But we need to figure out how to deal with this threat once and for all." "Agreed," Aiden said, feeling the weight of their situation. "We'll find a way." As they made their way through the crowd, Aiden knew that they had just begun to scratch the surface of the conflict ahead. With each passing moment, that connection deepened, an alliance forged in fire and tempered by the knowledge that they were fighting for something greater than themselves. The galaxy was vast, but together, they would navigate its treacherous depths, standing against the tides of fate that sought to tear them apart. Their journey was only beginning, and Aiden felt a sense of purpose swell within him. Whatever awaited them next, he was ready to face it, side by side with Lyra, the princess who would change the course of their destinies forever. The gathering storm. The air inside Nebula Station crackled with tension as Aiden Cross, Princess Lyra, and Kara Voss made their way through the thrumming marketplace, hearts racing from their narrow escape. The vibrant stalls and colorful displays seemed almost surreal against the backdrop of their harrowing encounter. Each moment felt charged with urgency, a reminder that danger lurked just beyond the shadows. "Where to next?" Aiden asked, keeping his voice low as they navigated the crowd. "We need to find a secure location to strategize." Kara scanned the area, his keen eyes assessing potential threats. "There's a back room at the Starlight Tavern not far from here. It's a safe place to meet without drawing attention." "Lead the way," Lyra replied, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling around them. Aiden admired her composure. It was a testament to her strength as a leader, even in the face of overwhelming odds. As they approached the tavern, Aiden felt a mix of anticipation and dread. They were about to discuss their plan for survival, and the stakes had never been higher. He pushed open the door to the tavern, a worn wooden structure with dim lighting and a haze of smoke hanging in the air. The patrons inside were a mix of traders, mercenaries, and travelers, each lost in their own world, yet all under the same roof, bound by the uncertainty of the galaxy. "Stay close," Aiden instructed, guiding Lyra and Kara through the room. They reached the back, where a small private room awaited them. Aiden closed the door behind them, ensuring their conversation would remain confidential. "All right, let's lay everything on the table," Kara said, leaning against the wall. "What's our next move?" Lyra took a deep breath, her gaze focused and determined. "We need to gather more information about the factions pursuing me. Rylos mentioned a group called the Iron Claw, known for their ruthless tactics. If they're involved, we need to prepare for anything." "The Iron Claw?" Aiden asked, frowning. "I've heard of them. They have a reputation for brutality and cunning. They won't stop until they have what they want." "Yes, and they will use every resource at their disposal," Lyra added, her eyes narrowing. "We can't underestimate them. They're well connected, and their influence reaches far beyond my home planet." Kara crossed his arms, contemplating their options. "If we can track their movements and understand their goals, we might find a way to counter them, but it won't be easy." Aiden nodded. "We need allies, people who can help us navigate this mess. If we can gain support from other factions, we can level the playing field." Lyra's expression shifted, a hint of uncertainty flickering in her eyes. "But who can we trust?" The galaxy is filled with deception. Rylos knows the players, Kara interjected. We can reach out to him for intel. He might have contacts who can provide valuable information about the Ironclaw's plans. Let's do that, Aiden suggested, his determination solidifying. But we need to remain vigilant. They're likely aware of my presence here and may already be tracking us. Then we should act fast, Lyra said, her resolve returning. Kara, can you reach out to Rylos and see what he can uncover? Consider it done, Kara replied, pulling out a small communication device. I'll send him a message right away. As Kara began typing, Aiden felt a surge of purpose. They were on the cusp of something significant, and for the first time, he sensed a shift in the tide of their fortunes. If they could gather the right allies and resources, they might stand a chance against the Iron Claw. Minutes later, Kara finished his message and glanced at them. Rylos is on it. He'll let us know as soon as he has any leads. Good, Aiden said, feeling the weight of anticipation pressing against him. In the meantime, we should prepare for potential confrontations. If the Iron Claw is looking for Lyra, they won't hesitate to come after us. Lyra nodded, her eyes brightening with determination. We need to set up a plan for evasion and defense. I can use my abilities to create shields and disrupt their technology if we're cornered. That's a start, Aiden replied, a sense of pride swelling within him. But we need more than just defenses. We need a way to outmaneuver them. Suddenly, the door creaked open, and a hooded figure stepped inside, their silhouette blocking the dim light from the tavern. Aiden instinctively reached for his weapon, but the figure raised their hands in a placating gesture. Hold on, I come in peace, the newcomer said, pulling back their hood to reveal a familiar face. Rylos. Rylos, Kara exclaimed, relief washing over him. You made it. Just in time, Rylos replied, a serious look on his face. I've gathered some intel on the Iron Claw. They've been tracking Lyra since her departure. We don't have much time before they catch up to us. What do you know? Lyra asked, urgency filling her voice. The Iron Claw is moving fast, Rylos said, his tone grim. They've mobilized a small fleet and are currently scouring this sector for your ship. They believe you're headed to your home planet, but if they catch wind of your presence here, it won't take long before they move in. Aiden's heart raced. We can't let that happen. What are their next steps? They're planning to intercept all outgoing ships from the station. If you're still here when they arrive, you'll be trapped, Rylos explained. We need to act now. Lyra's expression hardened. What do you suggest? Rylos leaned closer, his voice low. I know a back route out of the station. It's risky, but it will get you away from their grasp. We can board a cargo ship heading for the outer rim, but we'll have to leave immediately. Let's do it, Aiden said, feeling a rush of adrenaline. Kara, gather your team. We'll need all the help we can get. Already on it, Kara replied, his eyes glinting with determination. He quickly contacted his mercenary group, organizing their escape. Rylos glanced around the room, ensuring they weren't being overheard. Once we're on the cargo ship, we need to lay low until we reach the outer rim. The Iron Claw won't give up easily, and we can't afford any mistakes. Lyra nodded, her gaze steady. We'll do whatever it takes to stay ahead of them. With their plan set in motion, the group swiftly exited the tavern, blending into the bustling crowd once more. The tension in the air was palpable, but Aiden felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were not just running, they were fighting for their lives and their future. As they navigated the winding corridors of Nebula Station, Aiden couldn't help but notice the myriad of species around them, each with their own stories and struggles. It was a reminder that the galaxy was vast, filled with both allies and enemies. He hoped they would find the support they needed. Keep your eyes peeled, he cautioned, glancing at Lyra. If they're hunting for you, we have to be ready for anything. Lyra's expression was unwavering, her determination shining through. I won't let them take me without a fight. They reached the cargo hold, a dimly lit area filled with crates and equipment. Aiden felt the weight of the moment. Their fate hinged on this next step. He turned to Rylos and Kara. "Let's get to work. We need to load up and move out as quickly as possible." The mercenaries arrived, each of them ready for action, their faces set with resolve. "We're with you," Kara announced, rallying his team. "Whatever it takes to keep the princess safe." With a sense of urgency, they began loading supplies and preparing for their escape. Aiden felt the adrenaline surge through him, the reality of their situation sinking in. They were no longer just a pilot and a princess. They were part of a larger fight, one that could change the fate of both their races. As they worked, Aiden stole glances at Lyra. She moved with purpose, her demeanor unwavering despite the uncertainty that lay ahead. It was clear she was determined to reclaim her destiny, and Aiden felt a growing admiration for her strength. "Are you ready for this?" he asked her, catching her eye. "I was born ready," she replied with a fierce smile, and Aiden felt a warmth spread through him. In that moment, he knew they were in this together, bound by a shared purpose and an unbreakable alliance. With everything loaded, Rylos took the lead, guiding them through the labyrinth of the station. Aiden kept close to Lyra, feeling a sense of protectiveness wash over him. They had come too far to let fear dictate their actions. "Stay sharp," Rylos said as they approached the loading bay. "The cargo ship is waiting, but we need to move quickly. Once we're aboard, we can set our course for the outer rim." Aiden nodded, his senses heightened. The air was thick with anticipation as they reached the cargo hold. He could see the ship, a rugged vessel that looked as though it had seen better days, but it would do. "Get on board," Rylos shouted, ushering everyone forward. "We'll cover you." As Aiden helped Lyra onto the ship, he felt the tension in the airshift. They were making a break for it, but the Iron Claw was out there, ready to strike at any moment. Once aboard, they secured the hatch and moved to the cockpit. Aiden took the pilot's seat, quickly assessing the controls. "Let's get this baby moving," he said, adrenaline coursing through him. "Prepare for takeoff," Rylos called, taking up a defensive position at the entrance. "We'll cover you from here." Lyra moved to the navigation console, her fingers deftly manipulating the controls. "I can help plot a course," she said, her focus unwavering. "We need to avoid any detected routes the Iron Claw might be monitoring." Aiden nodded, impressed by her quick thinking. "Let's do it. Once we're in the air, we'll need to lay low until we're clear of the station." As the engines rolled to life, Aiden felt a sense of exhilaration mixed with trepidation. They were on the brink of a new chapter, but they had to navigate the storm that lay ahead. "Take off in 3, 2, 1. Aiden counted down, and with a powerful thrust, the ship surged forward, breaking free from the station's gravitational pull. The stars outside blurred into streaks of light as they entered space. "Status?" Aiden asked, eyes fixed on the controls. "We're clear for now," Rylos reported, glancing at the sensors. "But we need to keep moving. The Iron Claw won't waste time." Lyra's fingers moved quickly over the console as she helped plot their course. "I'll guide us through the asteroid belt. It'll provide cover, but we'll need to stay sharp." Aiden nodded, adrenaline pumping through his veins. "All right, let's get out of here." As they navigated through the vastness of space, Aiden felt a surge of hope. They were escaping the immediate danger, but the storm was far from over. The Iron Claw would be relentless, and they had to prepare for whatever lay ahead. With Lyra's guidance, they maneuvered through the asteroid field, using the debris as cover. Aiden felt a sense of camaraderie with the mercenaries and Lyra. They were a team now, fighting for their survival against the tides of fate. "Stay vigilant," Aiden reminded everyone as they pressed deeper into the asteroid belt. "We can't afford to be caught off guard." With each passing moment, the bond between them grew stronger. They were no longer just individuals. They were allies, united by a common goal. And together, they would face whatever challenges awaited them in the vastness of the galaxy. Shadows in the dark. The celestial wraith glided silently through the jagged asteroid field, its hull barely illuminated by the soft glow of nearby stars. Inside the cramped cockpit, Aiden Cross kept his focus sharp, heart pounding as he navigated the narrow paths between the floating rocks. The gravity of their situation weighed heavily on him. They had narrowly escaped the clutches of the Iron Claw, but their journey was just beginning. Beside him, Princess Lyra concentrated intently on the navigation console, her fingers flying across the touchscreen as she plotted their evasive course. "We need to keep our trajectory unpredictable," she said, her voice steady despite the tension. "The Iron Claw will be trying to trace us through the tracking logs of the station." "We'll need to alter our signal," Aiden replied, his mind racing with possibilities. "I can mask our ship's readings, but we'll need to keep our movements erratic to throw them off our trail." "Agreed. If we can lead them on a wild chase, we might gain enough distance to reach a safe haven," Lyra said, her determination shining through. Aiden was struck by her strength. She was not just a princess in peril, but a warrior in her own right, ready to fight for her future. As they maneuvered deeper into the asteroid field, Rylos and Karavos exchanged tense glances from the back of the cockpit. The mercenaries had proven their worth, aiding in the setup and preparing defenses as they fled. Their loyalty was an unexpected boon, but Aiden understood that alliances in their current predicament were fragile. "Keep an eye on the sensors," Rylos instructed, his voice low but firm. "They'll be using their long-range scanners to pinpoint our location. If we can't maintain stealth, we'll be cornered." "We can create a decoy," Kara suggested, leaning forward with an idea. "If we launch a false signal while we change our course, we can draw them away from us." "Excellent thinking," Aiden said, glancing at Lyra. "Can you handle that?" Lyra nodded, a fire igniting in her green-gold eyes. "I can manipulate the energy signature of our ship to create a ghost signal. They'll think they're tracking us while we slip away undetected." "Let's get to it then," Aiden replied, feeling a surge of hope. Together, they had a plan, a way to outsmart their pursuers. He felt a sense of camaraderie with the group, a bond that was forged in the fires of danger and uncertainty. As they set their course through the asteroids, Lyra worked quickly, tapping commands into the console. Aiden focused on maintaining the ship's momentum, weaving between the colossal rocks that floated silently in the void. The tension in the cockpit was palpable. Every second felt like a countdown to potential disaster. Finally, Lyra's voice broke through the silence. "I'm ready to launch the decoy. On your mark, Aiden." "All right, 3, 2, 1, launch," he shouted, and Lyra pressed the button, sending a signal out into the vastness of space. A moment later, the sensors lit up with feedback, showing the false readings emanating from a nearby cluster of asteroids. "Now let's move," Aiden said, pushing the throttle forward. The ship surged forward, leaving the decoy behind as they veered in a new direction. The adrenaline surged through him as they broke free from the asteroid field, the stars stretching out before them like a vast canvas of possibility. "Let's hope this works," Ryo said, his eyes fixed on the scanners. "If they buy the decoy, we'll have a chance to regroup." As they sailed away from the danger, Aiden felt a mixture of relief and anxiety. They had made it this far, but the Iron Claw was relentless, and their reputation preceded them. He could only hope that their ruse would buy them the time they needed. Minutes turned into hours as they navigated through empty sectors of space, and Aiden felt the weight of exhaustion creeping in. He glanced at Lyra, who remained focused at the console, her brow furrowed in concentration. "How are you holding up?" he asked softly. "I'm fine," she replied, though her voice was tinged with fatigue. "I'm just focused on staying one step ahead of them." Aiden admired her tenacity, but he couldn't help but worry about the toll this was taking on her. "We should take shifts. I can pilot for a while you rest." Lyra looked at him, her expression softening. "Thank you, Aiden. I appreciate your concern, but I need to be alert. We can't afford any lapses in concentration." "All right," he said, conceding to her determination. "Just promise me you'll take care of yourself." "I promise," she replied with a faint smile. As the hours dragged on, the tension in the cockpit remained high. They had successfully navigated away from immediate danger, but Aiden knew that the Iron Claw would not be deterred for long. They had to find a safe location to regroup, gather resources, and plan their next move. "Do we have any contacts at the Red Dune outpost?" Aiden asked, turning to Kara. "It's not far from here, and they have a reputation for being neutral ground." Kara nodded, his expression serious. "Yes, I know a few people there who might be able to help us. It's a good place to lay low and gather intel on the Iron Claw's movements." "Let's set our course for Red Dune," Aiden said, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. "If we can establish a connection there, we might be able to gain the upper hand." As they plotted their new course, the atmosphere in the cockpit shifted slightly. Laura's focus seemed to intensify, her eyes narrowed as she worked through the navigational data. Aiden admired her strength and determination. She was not just a figurehead, but a warrior in her own right. After what felt like an eternity, they finally entered the outer reaches of the Red Dune outpost's territory. The space surrounding the outpost was dotted with small ships and trade vessels, bustling with activity. Aiden's heart raced with anticipation. They were one step closer to finding allies. "Prepare for docking," he said, guiding the ship toward the outpost's landing bay. The atmosphere crackled with energy as they approached the bustling platform filled with traders and travelers from across the galaxy. Once the celestial wraith touched down, Aiden secured the ship and turned to his companions. "All right, we need to stay vigilant. The Iron Claw may have informants here." Lyra adjusted her cloak, steeling her resolve. "We'll have to be cautious, but we can't hide forever. If we're going to reclaim my throne, we need to take risks." Aiden felt a surge of admiration for her bravery. "You're right. Let's gather what we need and find those contacts." As they disembarked, Aiden took in the sights and sounds of the outpost. The air was filled with the chatter of various species, the clatter of equipment being moved, and the distinct hum of commerce. They stepped into the throng, Lyra and Aiden sticking close together, while Kara and Rylos fanned out to scout for potential allies. "Stay alert," Aiden whispered to Lyra as they walked. "If anything feels off, we leave." "I understand," she replied, scanning the crowd with keen eyes. "We'll find our allies, Aiden. I can feel it." As they moved deeper into the marketplace, Aiden spotted a familiar face, a trader he had met during previous missions, Harlan Vex. He was a wiry man with a reputation for being resourceful and well-connected, a good person to know in times of crisis. "There," Aiden pointed him out to Lyra. "Let's talk to Harlan. He might have the intel we need." They approached Harlan, who was busy examining a crate of goods. His eyes widened when he recognized Aiden. "Cross, it's been a while. What brings you to this part of the galaxy?" "I wish it were under better circumstances," Aiden replied, glancing around to ensure they weren't overheard. "We need your help, Harlan. The Iron Claw is after us, and we need intel on their movements." Harlan's expression shifted, concern etching his features. "The Iron Claw. You're in serious trouble then. They're relentless and ruthless. If they're after a Zithari princess, they won't stop until they get her." Lyra stepped forward, her voice steady. "We need information on their operations, who they're working with, and where they're planning to strike next." Harlan nodded, his eyes darting around as if ensuring no one was eavesdropping. "I can help you with that, but it won't be free. I need something in return." Aiden felt a twinge of frustration. "What do you want?" "A favor," Harlan said, a sleek smile creeping onto his lips. "There's a shipment of goods scheduled to arrive at the outpost soon, and I need someone to secure it for me. It's valuable cargo, and I can't risk losing it to the wrong hands." "Fine. We'll help with your shipment," Aiden replied, knowing they needed Harlan's support. "But we need that intel fast." "All right." Harlan said, his demeanor shifting back to business. "Meet me at the docking bay in an hour. I'll give you the details, and I'll see what I can find out about the Iron Claw in the meantime." With their agreement made, Aiden and Lyra stepped away from Harlan, feeling a sense of urgency growing within them. "We need to find Kara and Rylos," Aiden said, scanning the crowd for their mercenary allies. After a few minutes of searching, they spotted Kara speaking with another mercenary, a tall woman with a scar across her cheek. She was clearly seasoned and formidable, her presence commanding attention. Aiden and Lyra approached just as the conversation ended. "Kara, who's this?" Aiden asked, nodding toward the woman. "This is Naira, a contact I trust," Kara replied, his voice serious. "She knows the area and has information on the Iron Claw's movements." Aiden shook Naira's hand, impressed by her confident demeanor. "We could use someone with your expertise. We're trying to gather intel on their operations." "I can help with that," Naira said, her tone steady. "But I need to know what we're up against. The Iron Claw is dangerous, and they have eyes everywhere." "We're aware," Lyra interjected. "That's why we're trying to keep a low profile. If we can get information on their next moves, we might be able to strike before they can target us." Nara nodded, her expression thoughtful. "I have a few leads, but I'll need time to gather intel. The Iron Claw is in the shadows, but their plans often leak. I'll do what I can." "Thank you," Aiden replied, feeling a sense of hope. "If we can coordinate our efforts, we might stand a chance." As they discussed their plans, Aiden felt a sense of unity forming among the group. They were no longer just individuals fighting for their survival. They were a team, each bringing their unique skills and strengths to the table. "Let's regroup in 1 hour," Aiden suggested. "I'll meet Harlan about the shipment, and we'll compare notes afterward." "Sounds like a plan," Kara said, clapping Aiden on the shoulder. "Stay sharp. The Iron Claw won't give up easily." As the group dispersed, Aiden felt a surge of determination. They were in the heart of enemy territory, but they were not powerless. Together, they would navigate the storm that lay ahead and reclaim control over their destinies. With the bustling marketplace surrounding him, Aiden took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. The fate of Lyra, the Zithari princess, rested in their hands, and he was determined to protect her at all costs. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the outpost, Aiden felt a fire ignite within him. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but they were ready to face whatever challenges awaited them, united in their fight against the shadows that threatened to engulf them.